perfect time to be alone. Kids distracted, wifey on the phone. Slip out the back door with my car keys. If I don't leave now, someone will try and find me. It's different this time right now, solo. I have the perfect plan, nowhere to go.
Welcome to the If You Cook, I'll Clean podcast. I'm your host, Eli Breeden. Today we have a very special guest with us. She hails from Charlotte, North Carolina, by way of the DMV, Maryland area. She is an excellent accountant. She's a mother of two. She's also the operations and finance director of the Charlotte Black Film Festival. LAKESHA, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Did I get that right?
You got it right.
Oh, great. So we are having conversations regarding the book If You Cook, I'll Clean. Mm-hmm. And for now, I'm only having guests on who actually read the book from beginning to end. So tell me, what did you think about the book?
So when I opened the book, I was shocked the way it was written, like from the client and the barber point of view. So I thought it was very good, and then the little suggestion at the back of it. Good information for females to know, because we always trying to figure out what's in that brain of the men. So it was very good information.
Okay. So was there anything in the book that may have caught you off guard?
Okay.
And feel free to film through the book while we're talking.
I have on the top of my head.
Okay.
So let's go to this sex thing, holding out sex.
Oh, we're gonna go
right
there
yeah.
to it. We not even warming up to it. Going right to it.
Yeah, because.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Men always talk about us holding out on sex. Yeah.
Okay.
I think we should use it to our advantage. But you're right, we can't keep using it. So if you're asking your man to do something over and over again and he's not coming through, I think it's okay to hold out on the sex. Mm-hmm. To get what you want.
Okay, there's no debate here. We're just open for, communication, and whatever your opinion is, we embrace it. I would say that tactic doesn't always work to your advantage because, as I mentioned during the Black Film Festival or Charlotte Black Film Festival, you're looking at a 2 to 3 day window before that man starts drifting away and he starts thinking about other women, or he may even start looking at other images that may spark his interest to some degree. So you may believe that it's something or a weapon that will work to your advantage, but based on conversations that I've had and interviews that I've had and data that I collected, I'm here to tell you that it will never work to your advantage.
Okay, so what would you say another option would be?
Another option would be communication, effective communication, allowing him to listen to your needs and opening yourself up to be able to listen to what that man's needs is as well. Okay. So playing those games, I can tell you, leads to sometimes infidelity. It leads to pornography, and maybe some other things that I don't necessarily want to mention, but ultimately it will no game, period. Even if he's playing that same game in a different way, it's not going to work to his advantage as well. So my suggestion would be having that open line of communication and you guys actually coming to an agreement so both of you guys can be satisfied in that regard.
Well, that's not always the end result, though.
Okay. Can you expand upon that?
So if you communicating and it's still not getting through him, then that's why we hold out a lot of times because we figure that's the only way that we know it's something that he likes that we can get what we want.
Okay, that's I guess that's fair enough. But since you brought the point up, and stop me if I'm diving in too deep, but how has that worked out for you in the past?
It's worked out.
It's worked out.
Yeah.
Well, what I can say to that is, you may think it has worked out, but I can promise you, there's some conversations that you aren't privy to until recently, as it relates to that book, that you'll never know about. So
Right.
you may think that it worked out, but I can promise you, 9 times out of 10, it didn't.
It didn't.
No,
Okay.
he probably was conforming because he wanted to please you, but at the end of the day, it's only going to make a man shut down, and he's not going to be willing to really. He's not going to feel like he can have those conversations with you without him always trying to please you or appease you in that regard. Which brings me to my next point.
Okay.
So there's a chapter in the book called "What You Won't Do," right?
Right.
So in that chapter, we discuss. I'm sorry. There's a conversation about what that woman isn't doing,
Mhm.
and there's another woman that's always willing to do
Mhm.
what you won't do.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, in the book, you point out some good. Um, what's the word I want? Suggestions about that because about like the grass is greener on the other side. Because of course she gonna do anything you want her to do because she don't have to deal with you day to day. But as a being a wife, yeah, I do think that we have to make sacrifices, and that goes both ways. We have to do stuff that we don't want to do, and I had to learn that in my marriage. Um, in order for him not to step outside the marriage, you want him to be happy at home, so he won't look out. But I think there's some guys that's still happy at home and still won't step out.
Okay, that's a conversation for another day and time.
Okay.
I can't really offer any opinions on that necessarily. I think that for the most part, men want to be with one woman and one woman only, contrary to popular belief based on the evidence that I collected. Because if that man or that woman is being satisfied at home, what reason would they need to want to step outside of the marriage? And as a matter of fact, there's a phrase that I remember in the book that says, empty balls will keep you surrounded by four walls. Do you understand that phrase?
I do.
Okay, well, let's have a conversation about it. So what does that phrase mean to you?
So basically, if you're pleasing your man at home, you don't have to worry about him going outside the home because he's getting everything he wants at home.
Okay, so and that's a statement that holds true for a lot of relationships, because and you have certain instances or circumstances where individuals, because of their ego and because of narcissism and maybe some other reasons, they're gonna do what they want to do anyway.
Right.
But someone who is being responsible, someone who truly cherishes family and understands what commitment truly is and what it looks like, they're not quick to make decisions like that. And if you remember, there were certain conversations in the book where there were guys who were really contemplating, doing the right thing, and there was barbers in there who didn't offer the best advice in some instances, but in some instances they did because of their, you know, personal stories and things that they went through and suggestions they were able to offer based on, their experiences.
Right.
So,
And I believe that. I believe, there are. I've seen a lot of marriages that is good at home as far as not worrying about stepping out and stuff
mhm.
like that.
And also, what I've found out was excuse me, I can't even say the word right. Infidelity isn't necessarily a deal breaker for individuals or certain
Mhm.
individuals, because if you know, or if you don't know, but you will soon discover, we find out we have other siblings, and
Oh yeah.
we have other relatives when granddaddy done passed away. You know
That's
what I
true.
mean? Maybe even our your daddy
Yeah.
or whoever. So, and we discover that grandma or mama or whoever, or your aunt, uncle, they just never publicized it,
That's
and
that's true.
they were very discreet about how they moved, but they wanted to stay together as a cohesive unit because they knew there was going to be a trickle effect for the entire
Family.
family.
Hmm.
So they made it work.
But I think back then they made it work more than they do now.
I can agree with that.
I've had conversations with girlfriends and we talk about that, and um, we've we've seen like our grandmothers or great grandmothers go through that with the outside kids, and they stayed and they put up with a lot of stuff. And when you grow up as a female seeing this, you're saying, I'm not going to do this because it's embarrassing for one. And then, of course, we say we don't care what other people think or talk about, but we really do. And I've seen now females don't put up with it as much as they did back then because you know this whole we don't need a man thing, or I can do it by myself. I'm not one of them, but that's the big thing right now. But back then, yes, they put up with a lot of it, and they stayed in the marriage for the family. Now, let me ask you this: do you think it's healthy
Do I think what is healthy?
to stay in the marriage with all that going on?
It depends on the individuals. I
Okay.
can't speak for everybody. I mean, what's healthy for you
Yeah.
and I may not necessarily be what's healthy for them. Is up to that couple, because I've seen some couples with therapy, obviously,
Right.
be able to be successful in their marriage and get through it. And thank God some of our parents, and not mine, um, did have infidelity relationships,
Mhm.
because a lot of us wouldn't be here today
That's
if,
true.
if they did.
That's true.
So I don't look at it from a perspective, from an emotional perspective. Of course, it hurts.
Mhm.
It really does. But if you truly want to make it work, and I tell people this all the time, I learned this phrase many years ago. You take yourself with you everywhere you go.
That's true.
So regardless of if you are in a current relationship and experiencing that, either you are the person that's being cheated on, or you are the person doing the cheating. You're entering into another relationship with the same mentality.
Right.
Did you do something to cause that person to go outside of that relationship, or are you the cause, or vice versa, whatever the case may be? So until we start really truthfully taking a look intrinsically and on the inside, and start dealing with some of the past traumas and current traumas that we are facing, I don't think that we'll ever look at things the way that our grandparents did. It's a different world now.
Yes.
We're
it is.
exposed to so much more, which is in many respects dangerous to me, but that's another story for another day. To answer your question, fidelity isn't necessarily a deal breaker, to me, based on the conversations that I've had. And a lot of men, like, there was one case in that book where there was a guy who actually killed
Mhm.
his wife, and it was a true story, because he ended up following her or something, and he found out she was meeting up with this guy. He killed her. You know, so there are some repercussions when it comes to making certain decisions like that. So, and I believe the barbers were having a conversation about that same situation, and one of the things that they said was, and they were joking about it, why would you kill anybody over a piece of tail? You know, I could have given him, you know, some of the brides that I was dealing with, and you know, and everybody would have still been alive to this day. So I think some people do take it to heart, and some people take it to the extreme.
Yes.
So you have to be very careful when you're playing those games. So the next topic I want to discuss is forget me not. That's a one of the chapters in the book as well. Do you remember that chapter at all? Okay, so I'll help remind you. So
Okay.
forget me not was a collection of conversations based on some of the guys who felt like their significant other, their girlfriend, or their wife forgot who they were. So now they're at the place where they're completely being disrespectful. They're disrespecting them. They're calling them out of their name, so on and such. So my question to you is, do you know of certain relationships, or have you been a part of any relationships where you actually forgot who that man was to you? Or okay.
Oh yeah, because they're totally different. Because sometimes people put on a facade, I say, or they have a different representative. And yeah, I've seen where they are totally different, or better yet, if you've been with somebody for a long period of time, over time we do change as individuals. We change, our mind change, our thinking, religious, whatever. All it can change. So that person starts looking different to you because that's not the same person you've been with. As far as the whole forgetting who they are, the disrespectful thing, I see that in relationships now too. They talk to their husband any kind of way in front of everybody, and the for me, I feel like the husband should be the one that nip that in the bud. You have to nip it in the bud, and you won't get it. But yeah, I have seen some changes. I have seen over a course.
Okay, sounds good. So a couple of conversations that comes to mind was this particular guy in that chapter says, you know, this woman completely disrespected me because, you know, she doesn't remember who I was in the beginning. You know, I'm still, you know, that person who has a lot of drive. I'm, you know, still chasing success, but, you know, he has some stumbling blocks, as we all do in life when we're trying to achieve something, and it's important. And I believe it's stated in the book. It's important to remember who that guy is, because if you speak life into that guy, he can provide for you the world, and an unlimited amount of things he could provide for you if you know, speak life into him. And one of the conversations, I believe, was about, you know, maybe it was a secretary, somebody on his job. She was, you know, speaking life into him, and ultimately, you know, and I don't know if it was a reference or a true story, but ultimately he ended up leaving his relationship, you know, for, you know, the secretary. Not to undermine a secretary's position, because of course their position is just as important as the CEO's position, because without their position they wouldn't exist.
Right.
So he would, you know, ultimately leave that relationship because that secretary was speaking life and she believed in him. So, and one thing that is stated in the book is you don't want to be on one end of the spectrum when this guy does become successful, because he's going to remember. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like he's compartmentalizing, and he's placing all of these situations and experiences that he's having with you in his mind, and he's never going to forget how you made him feel.
Right.
So you don't want to be in a place where, when he was down, you're dogging him out.
Right.
And now, he's this successful guy, and you want to kind of hang around, knowing some of the things that you guys experienced together, which wasn't so pleasant. So that's one of the stories that I wanted to bring up. I remember doing the Charlotte Black Film Festival. We were sitting on a panel. You made, I'm not going to say a valid point, but you made a point, and I'm getting ready to remind you. So one of the things that you mentioned was, because we were talking about how some women throw these terms out with men, and they call them out of their name.
Oh yeah.
Now, I'm getting ready to remind you. So one of the statements that you made was, well, I don't necessarily want no man who, and maybe I'm taking a little bit out of context. You can help me.
Okay.
But who doesn't, if my car breaks down, I need to know if that man knows what to do or not.
Okay. I do remember that. We were talking
Can I expand on that
ahead,
just
I'm
a little
sorry.
bit
Go
more?
Ahead.
And why it sparked my interest, and I shouldn't say sparked my interest. How you got my interest, or how you gained my interest, was just recently. I had a situation with my car, right? I didn't have the proper tools to be able to do what I needed to do to get the car up and running again. My son was with me. It would have been a great teaching moment for him. Didn't have any of the things that I needed. I had to end up calling USAA. I am from the country where there's still dirt roads. We were driving when we were like 12 and 13 years old. My father taught me how to change a tire when I was probably 12 or 13, maybe even 14.
Okay.
So a lot of those things, and I may not present that currently, but I'm still from the country, and I'm a country boy at heart. So a lot of those things we already, knew how to do. And I understand the generations are different, people are different. I know how to change a tire.
Okay.
But in that instance, at that particular point in time, if you were with me based on that statement that you made, I don't know if we would be on good terms right now. So can you please expand on that?
So this is what we were talking about. We were talking about a man showing weakness.
Okay.
And I said, I don't have a problem with that. His sensitive side, because I said men are always got this strong, I'm a man, hear me roar type. And I said women love to see that sensitive side. I said, now, if my car broke down and I call you and you act like you don't know what to do, call AAA, whatever. You're my man. This is what I need you to fix it for me. I'm at home cooking, cleaning, doing all the other stuff. I expect my man to do the car. And you act like you don't know what to do, then yes, I'm going to feel some kind of way. Like, why did I even call him? So that's the point I was making. We was talking about the sensitive. Because men don't like to show that emotional side, per se. Most men, I would say that. And that's what we were talking about.
Okay, that's fair enough. And,
Yeah.
and one of the individuals that sat on that panel or that was in the room responded as well.
Yeah.
And he didn't say it like I'm getting ready to say it, but sometimes we do feel like that you guys want us to be everything and all inclusive, if you will, to only you. You guys want us to be a mechanic. You want us to be a chef. You want us to know taekwondo. You want us to know
Wait a
judo.
minute.
You guys want us to know how to fight. You guys, well, it's okay if you don't. You can have a gun and still not know how to fight. Everybody don't know how to fight. You want us to know how to box. You want us to know how to be an excellent driver.
Well,
All of these things you guys want us to do. So that's not me. That was coming from an individual who was sitting
right
in the room
right
when we were having that conversation.
but
What do you think about that?
I think, okay, society, d- men are supposed to be here. Men are supposed to be the leaders of the family. So of course, as a female, we're gonna turn to you for majority of the things. Yes, we cook, we clean, we we have to be ready in the bedroom. We have to be the kids. So we're doing
Can
all
I
this stuff.
interject just for a second?
Yeah, sure.
A lot of women in this generation, or they're not cooking anymore,
Well,
and some of them.
which generation? Our
Dancing.
generation or younger?
See, we're different, and I don't
Yeah,
want to put
'cause-
your age out there at all. But I'm a '70s baby,
Yeah.
so I think we were bred just a little bit
Yeah.
different. So when I say different generation,
Oh,
even
yeah.
even some in our generation, and definitely the generations behind us, the roles are constantly evolving and they're changing. Like I know a lot of men who, like my father, he did like a lot of the cooking
Okay.
because my mother, she had some challenges, health challenges. So my dad had to step up and do a lot of things. But my dad can bake, and he's also, an excellent cook, I would say. So
Okay.
a lot of the roles are changing. So when you say the women have to cook and they have to clean, those aren't necessarily, those traditional roles are kind of obsolete. They're not relevant to today's society necessarily.
Okay.
I mean, it's
Okay.
just something to think about. Like you have men who actually, I don't know any personally, but you have men who stay at home now.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And those roles are reversing.
You don't see it a lot, but yes.
Yeah, but they exist.
Yeah.
You have women out there who they're the breadwinners, and their significant other or their husband is staying at home.
That's true. So the whole cooking, because we had a little side conversation. I grew up in a home. My mother, I shouldn't say this because if she watching, but she wasn't.
Hold on. Be
She
careful.
she was. She had her favorite dishes but she didn't cook like that. So when I got married, I did not cook. I had two things I cooked.
What were those
So,
two things?
It was fried catfish and cabbage.
Oh, that's good. That's a good start. What about
So-
the mac and cheese? Did you? Did you
Then
know how
I didn't know how
to?
to.
It was out the box.
Yes.
Oh, okay. You
So,
cooked the
but
hell out of
now-
some Kraft macaroni and
Yes,
cheese.
I did.
What about now?
Now
Homemade?
I can cook. Oh, I cooked
Okay.
the whole Thanksgiving dinner.
Okay, we're
So
gonna
it
get
was
a
something
recipe
that-
from you.
Right. There was
At the
something that
end.
I learned over time because that's where I was at with the
Okay.
family. I cooked. We had kids, so they had to eat. So
Okay.
I stepped up and cooked. So it is changing, but there is still a lot of women that cooks and will cook and will still do the old-fashioned things. My girlfriend and I talk about it all the time, and I know I'm probably getting off a little bit.
No,
but
you're not. It's okay.
This whole
We're gonna reel you back in if you get too far
okay.
away.
This whole I don't need a man thing, I can't stand. I cannot stand hearing that. I just cannot stand hearing that. And but there are women out there that feel like, no, I want a man. I want him to be the head of the household. I want, better half. Because there's some things he can't do that I can do. I've seen relationships where the man cook and the wife don't. She does, other stuff. But yeah, it is changing a little bit. But there is still some old-fashioned women out there.
Oh, good. And you know what? Whatever works for those individuals in that relationship. I
Right.
mean,
To each his own.
no judgment here. I personally, I like to cook. So I'm not gonna say it wouldn't be nice every once in a while to, have someone to cook for you. But in certain instances, I can cook for myself.
I hear you.
So and my son as well. So we talked about, we hit on sex. we kind of touched on peace in the home a little bit, not so much, but we did speak about the three things that men typically like, which is food, sex, and peace in the home. So we'll touch on that shortly. But one of the things that we did discuss during the film festival panel that Sunday was third party relationships, right? So there's a chapter in the book called Third Party Influence, where in some instances, the female will have jealous friends, and they'll do things subtly to try to ruin her girlfriend's relationship. And unfortunately, we've all experienced it on some level. And sometimes, we don't figure it out until it's too late. Because they're disguising a lot of the things that they do because, their intentions just aren't good. And they're able to disguise it because, they have a plan.
Right.
And ultimately, that plan is to steal, kill, and destroy.
Right.
So, what are your thoughts, and do you know of, and we don't have to mention any names, but do you know of any situations like that you've seen, heard of, or maybe experienced?
I haven't really seen anything like that, but women like to talk. That's one of our, we like to talk, and of course, we like to talk to our friends. And I have learned over time that I usually try to talk to somebody who's at the same level as me, because how are you going to be single and give a married person advice? Or I don't, really, you shouldn't really talk about what's going on in your marriage. You shouldn't tell anybody what's going on in your bedroom. You shouldn't tell anybody how he doing it, whatever. But yeah, as far as somebody trying to destroy a relationship, I really haven't seen that. So I can't really speak on that. I know it happens, but I haven't really seen it.
And that's one of the things that is discussed in the book as well. Single friends keep their other single friends single.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, how can you even begin to relate to being in a relationship when all you see is what's presented before you? Meaning, if all of your friends are single, they're not giving you a married person's perspective or even advice on how you can potentially be married. Because there's still a lot of great, guys out there who want to be married.
Yeah. And a lot
But
of times,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. And a lot
No,
of
you're fine.
times when you're hanging out with single females, they're doing a lot of stuff that as a married woman you can't do. So now you're like, I want to do what they're doing. So of course it's gonna cause some conflict in the marriage. So yeah.
And that kind of goes to what I was saying previously. Like, they do it subtly. Like, and you just made my point. If a single friend is trying to influence you to do some of the things that they're doing, and now in return you're doing those things, I mean, they are in a sense kind of interfering with your relationship. And sometimes you find out your single friends ain't doing all as great as they present.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They're measurable.
Right. All these people putting all these images on social media and all these other social media outlets, to me, I live by discretion. You understand what I'm saying? I don't particularly care for individuals to be in my life, period. So for those individuals who do that, I always question what their motive is. Is there something missing? You know what I mean? Is there something you're searching for that you just can't find, and you need validation from all of these outlets that you're doing all this posting on? I mean, and some people use that from an emotional perspective to be cradled. You know what I mean? So
The likes.
absolutely. So we may have time for maybe one more question related to the book. So overall, you thought it was an easy read.
Yeah.
You thought it was good,
I
and
did.
there was nothing that really caught you off guard
No.
necessarily. Okay. Has it helped you any in terms of giving you any insight on how men truly think and
Oh yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And what are you gonna take with you
From the
moving
book.
forward? Yeah.
I'm gonna carry it everywhere I go. No, I'm just kidding. No, it did. It gave you a lot of insight about the man's thought process. So I can go back and refer to it if I need to. But yeah, it was some really good information.
How do you think you can use it to your advantage in terms of having the information?
By reading it, sometimes we can be selfish, and in this book, it's telling us that sometimes you have to take yourself out and put somebody else in front of you. So we think we know a man, but we really don't. We can go all day, and y'all not complicated. It's just you want what you want, and it's a certain way. So the man is the king. We have to treat him like that. We have to let them know that they're special. We have to let them know that they're appreciated. And I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know that for a long time. Like, oh, he's a man. He don't want to hear that until somebody was like, no, you have to tell me that you appreciate. I want to know that I'm appreciated. So it's a lot of stuff that we can take with us day to day and go from there.
And you know what? You just helped me remember another conversation that was taking place at the film festival, because one of the conversations was women oftentimes tell men what to think or how we think, and it's impossible. I'm not talking about a man who just gets along to go along, because he wants to appease. But that individual or that man who is strong-willed by nature, because we are, and who has an opinion, oftentimes there's a clash because some women, not all women, because women obviously aren't all the same, but some women will swear up and down that this man thinks this way, he does this, he moves this way, he should be doing this, he should be doing that. That's not how men move. Like, we can't tell you what to think. We can't tell you how you think or how you feel. And hopefully this is the last point, but why do you think women try to control men in terms of telling them how we think, how we feel, and things of that nature?
Well, I think a lot of times we get in our own head and we paint the picture of what we think it is and or what we want it to be. I can't speak for all women, but I like to ask questions. Like, so how did you feel about this? What do you feel about that? And if he says it, I usually believe him. I don't know why women do it. I really can't answer for everybody else, but I do think that we get in our heads, or we let somebody else in our heads, and we start painting this picture. Well, he did this. Why did he do this? He could have did it this way. Why he didn't do it this way? You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times we go and analyze. I do analyze stuff, but go and analyze everything, and we come up with our own story, and instead of asking about it. So I don't know why we do it, but that's what we do.
Well, guys, you've heard it from the best. LAKESHA says, all women, you need to get out your own head, and y'all need to get out your own way. You heard it from her first. Y'all need to get y'all stuff together. That's what she said. And go get some damn therapy. That's what she said. So we appreciate you guys tuning in today to the If You Cook I'll Clean podcast. We will see you soon for the next episode.
Yeah.